Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Tactical Harmony. And I am so very excited to introduce the one and only Arlene Limas to the show. Arlene is an Olympic gold medalist and world champion. She's also the founder and CEO of Pave Prevention, Inc., a social corporation dedicated to preventing violence before it occurs by equipping workplaces with evidence-based, trauma-informed human safety training. Arlene channels the same discipline and strategic thinking into building organizational cultures grounded in dignity, prevention, and healing. With a background in leadership, human safety, and equity advocacy, she developed PAVE to address the root causes of violence through a systems-level, culturally responsive approach. Arlene, welcome to the Tactical Harmony Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rebecca. That introduction was awesome. And thank you. You really kind of captured all our goals and visions for the organization of PAVE and also touching upon my life's journey. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. I mean, the privilege, the honor is truly all mine. And I definitely strive to capture the heart and essence of you as an individual and all of the amazing things that you do. So with that, let's start at the very beginning. I know my listeners are like, wait, did you just say Olympic gold medalist? Yes, you heard me correctly. So Arlene, you started martial arts, I believe, at the age of 5 years old and earned a black belt at 13. Yeah. So tell me, a kid from Chicago, like, how did you get into this demanding field?
Well, I have 4 older brothers, and my father also had a background in combatives, I'll say, so boxing. And my older brothers, the closest one to me is 8 years older than me, so I'm the baby by a lot. And they were all doing martial arts, participating in martial arts. And my dad had already kind of had me punching at a young age, punching pillows. And one of my brothers joined the Marine Corps, so he was no longer taking classes. And I was like, pick me, pick me, pick me. And so they just kind of let me go to kind of hang out, and I could hang out with my older brothers while they were in class, and I filled the spot. But at this time, you have to think about it was 1971. So martial arts was not as mainstream. So there were no women in the school that I saw, and there were no children. So it was like these either men from law enforcement or literally men who were in gangs, young men who were in gangs together on the floor, learning martial arts. And then me, I was kind of like the mascot. Whatever I could do in the class, I'd try to keep up. And I just fell in love with it. Then within probably a year and a half, the Bruce Lee craze hit. Schools were becoming more mainstream. There were now kids classes. And so, yeah, I was just pre-martial arts boom. So I had the benefit of really a lot of attention, to be honest. Like I was the only kid there, and everyone, wanted me to keep coming. They loved me, right? I was the little kid there. And so many, many, many people poured into me. Many men poured into me in that setting as a 5-year-old.
Wow, that's extraordinary. And I bet looking back, your dad and the brothers were like, wow, thank God we put her in when we did. Yeah. Little did they know that they had a gold medalist in the making. So I got to ask, at that young age, and so often we talk about as adults, we have limiting beliefs, things that we learned as a child that definitely imprint on us, whether good or bad, it has an impact on us. Yeah. So as a child, being the first, right? You were a young kid and you're a female. Like, how did you, I mean, obviously you realized that you were the only female in the room, but like, were you ever intimidated? Were you ever nervous as a kid, or was it so organic to you that you didn't know to have those feelings? Yeah. Like, wow, I'm a trailblazer at age 5.
Yeah. I didn't even really know better. And by the time, I wasn't supposed to be in the adult division till 16, but at 13, I already started competing in the adult division. And I had been fighting. They didn't separate girls and boys at that time. So I was fighting boys all the way through. So for me at that time, I would rather fight an adult woman than a 16-year-old boy. Because some of the 16-year-old men that I would have to say they were men. I mean, they had mustaches already. They had already, burly bodies. And here I was, this kind of lanky 13-year-old tall girl who hadn't even, come into my real body yet, And so when I made that transition from juniors, 13 to 16-year-old boys and girls, to adult women, I was like, okay, these women don't hit as hard right now. They don't move as fast as a 16-year-old boy. So that training and then transitioning to where I was only fighting women it was an easy transition for me. But to your question of, did I feel like a trailblazer? Not really. I mean, I just felt like this was the course I was on. I didn't know anything else. I didn't know that I'm only supposed to fight women. I'm only supposed to fight girls, because those things didn't exist. They really didn't exist. It wasn't really till almost recently, I'll say in the last 10 years, that someone was looking at a bunch of pictures online while I was one of the national coaches. And they said to me, does it ever feel weird? I see you always with this line of men, and then and you're always the only woman there. Does it feel weird? And I was like, it's just always been that way. I've always been the one female coach there. I've always been the one female athlete there. I'm grateful for it for my personal journey, but it needs to get better for everyone else's journey coming after me. And it has.
Yeah. Yeah. That's two things I want to double tap on. One is, as a child, and I'm very appreciative of your response and your candor, is you don't know any better. You know what you know, and that's how you were raised. And again, that could be great, or it could be things that you might have to work through and heal through, when you're an adult. But that's all you knew.
Yeah.
And that's what you embraced. And, you're not going to have a fear put in you unless you kind of feel it, right? Or like you were taught that. So I think that's a wonderful thing to showcase. And the second thing that I'd like to add is I definitely feel you regarding being one of the only females. You probably have, I would say definitely more of an extreme, but than I, but in law enforcement, for me, I'm usually the only woman in the room, or it's very clearly a male dominated field. And, when I was a federal agent for almost 15 years, it was mostly men, and I was always used to it. And it wasn't until I left that I realized, I knew that, but I didn't really understand it until I'm in corporate, and then I'm exposed to, different corporate cultures, different teams and colleagues and professionals. And they're like, what was that like? You were one of the only women, and male dominated, and kind of like you, Arlene. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess it was, but I don't really give it much thought, right? Like you either can do the job or you can't. And I wasn't treated any differently, right? Like it's my job, it's my career. I didn't ever really give it much thought, but others do. And so, yeah.
And I think it's, I can't speak for you, but for me, it was my parents. There was never ever a hiccup on like, girls can't do that, or you shouldn't do that. It really wasn't. It was get out there and do your best. And that whether that be, being the only girl on an all tackle football team, for the Chicago Park District, or whatever sport I did, it really wasn't it was not separated. There wasn't a girls version and a boys version at that time. So I always was playing sports with being the sole female, or one or two females, one or two girls on a team. So, and always feeling like I could prove myself. I was worthy of being there. Or, my mom and dad were like, yeah, do it, go do it, give your best, so I didn't really feel any limitations on that. And again, I just think I don't know if it was by intention. It was just who they were and how they wanted the opportunities they wanted for me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. And similar, I grew up playing baseball, right? Like at T-ball, I had a glove, a ball, and a bat in my hand when I was age 4. And I loved playing. I loved competing, and you're with girls, you're with boys, and, it didn't matter. I just had a little competitive spirit in me. I wanted to win. And so I wanted to be the best that I could so I could win. And I remember that vividly. But anyway, okay. So speaking of transitions, and you said like the transition was easy, going from karate to Taekwondo.
Yeah.
I believe that you did that for the shot at the Olympics, and I'm curious, what was that transition like? And forgive my ignorance, I am not, very intelligent on the different
No, no,
style
no.
techniques, but I know enough to know that they are very different. So, could you share your experience with us?
Well, again, I was just at this really unique time where martial arts were starting to boom and starting to become popular and mainstream. So at the time that I first started competing, it really was just like whoever can kick and punch. Didn't matter what style you were, if you were a Chinese stylist or a Japanese stylist or a Korean stylist, whatever style of martial arts you did, we were all going to fight against each other and compete against each other. And that was it. So those were called open tournaments because they were open to all styles. Right. But then as martial arts grew, well, then karate people could have enough interest to just do their tournaments, and Taekwondo people could just do tournaments in their style. And they all had little variations in rules, things that were legal and not legal. And so having come from the open circuit fighting against all styles, my first style was Shaolin Kung Fu, which is a Chinese style. So I love martial arts, so I'll study any style. But that was my first style. Then I competed a lot of open circuit tournaments, which was multiple styles in once. Was very successful in that. It was, ranked, one of the top female fighters in North America for several years. And then had to make some decisions on what I wanted to do. Did I want to pursue collegiate sport in softball and basketball, or what did I want to do, And this idea came to me, people came to me and said, Arlene, your fighting style would fight your body type, your fighting style would land really well in Olympic style Taekwondo. And I had fought Taekwondo people all my life because it was open circuit. But then I said, okay, I'll go try this regional tournament. The rules were different. So it was full contact, which I was fighting semi-contact before. So this was full contact. You could knock people out. Instead of just being a 2-minute fight, score 5 points, this one you fought 3 rounds. If you didn't knock them out, you fought 3-minute rounds. So it was different, but I fell in love with it from that first tournament. That format of fighting, I really fell in love with. And it really was a good fit for my style and the way I approached free sparring. And I didn't look back after that. It changed my approach to training. I now train for more endurance, more power. It was a smooth transition. And it really did re-spark my love of martial arts, competitive martial arts, because I was just like, okay, am I going to fight this same style or am I going to pursue softball? Got some scholarship offers. What am I going to do? But this really hooked me, hook, line, and sinker. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, thank God it did. It seems like
Yep.
all these were destination points for you leading to the gold medal and you didn't even know it. So, okay. So let's go to that. You walked into Seoul, South Korea as the underdog against the home nation in their own sport. What was running through your mind before that match?
There were some things that probably didn't seem, to have an impact from the outside. But because I had come from that open circuit, I was competing sometimes 35, 40 times a year at local tournaments and national tournaments. So almost every weekend. Sometimes I'd compete on Saturday and compete on Sunday somewhere else. So I had all this ring experience. It wasn't Olympic style Taekwondo experience, but it was get in, know when there's 30 seconds left to the round, all these things, all these little things you get from experiencing, competitive events. So although it was my first real national team, I had made collegiate national team right before, but this was the first major U.S. team that I made, and I wasn't on anyone's radar in the Olympic Taekwondo world. But I probably had triple the ring experience than anyone in that competition. And so it was a different ring, different style. But again, knowing when there's that internal clock of knowing when there's 30 seconds left, all those things I had. So yes, it was a smooth transition for me. What did it feel like? Man, it's a whole different kind of competition. The Olympic Games, really are, it's just a different, the sense of pride you have to represent your country. It was actually bigger emotional for me than I had even imagined. So that was a big kind of aha for me. The camaraderie is different, even if you were foes or competitors when you were in the United States, if you were on that team and when we landed in Korea, now it was like us against the world. So that camaraderie of being on a part of Team USA and then bigger Team USA with all the other sports. Yeah, it was, life changing. It was life changing. In the moment, it felt like just another tournament, right? Believe it or not, that's what it felt like. But our preparation was off the charts. So because this was the first time our sport was ever included in the Olympic Games and the magnitude of that. So what I mean by that is if US doesn't have a good showing in this event, maybe Taekwondo doesn't continue in future Olympic Games. Right? We got to win. We're not going to fight for a sport as a country. We're not going to fight for a sport to be considered in the Olympic Games if we don't have a chance at winning it. That's just how the U.S. Olympic Committee and Paralympic Committee move. And so it was really important for our team to have a good showing. And we did. Our women's team was number 1 in the world, and our men's team was number 2 in the world after those Olympic Games. And in hindsight, was a huge driving force to Taekwondo continuing its life in the Olympic movement.
Wow. Oh, goodness. I mean, so one thing that I want to really highlight is the power of training. Oh. So obviously in your area of expertise and the martial arts craft, training is everything, right? For any artist, a musician or an athlete, football, baseball, pick your poison. You rehearse mentally, you rehearse physically. And, as you so beautifully stated, Arlene, you're like, I know the 10 seconds. I know when that is. I have so much experience in the ring, 3 times more than everyone else because I've trained. So like it's automatic. Like your body knows it. It's the same thing in law enforcement on the range. I don't have to think about, how I'm drawing my weapon and when I know these movements because I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. And I always like to train, folks, what is your area of expertise and what training can you do? Physical rehearsal, mental rehearsal. And it's not enough to know. We have to integrate it into our bodies and our nervous system.
It has to become muscle memory.
Yes.
Has to become muscle memory. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's such an art to that. So, that's wonderful. And what a tremendous experience. And like you said, life-changing. How do you put words to it when just all of that just the momentum of all of the things that you did, every step that you took that led you to that moment. So now let's go to the moment. Your hand was raised. Arlene, you've been awarded the gold medal. What was the first thought that went through your head? Like, what were you like, oh my God, like what did you feel?
I mean, now our sport has evolved so much. It's electronic scoring. Immediately if you're winning, when you're winning, how you're winning, right? So everything pops up on sensors in our chest guards and things like that. It's so high tech now, my sport. But at the time, it was literally people marking little pieces of paper and then handing them to the center referee and then, things being posted. But so you don't know when you're fighting Korea and, it can get sometimes political. So you don't know. I thought I had done enough to win. I had, there was an 8 count administered and I'm like, okay, I should have this. But until the hand is really raised, you don't know. So I didn't know. I was there thinking I had done enough. But when the hand was lifted, then yes, I did enough. And yeah, it was the first day of competition. So it was so important that we have a U.S. good showing on the first day of the Olympic Games and was fortunate enough to be me. But the feeling was just amazing. But really that whole day was everything was just falling into place for me. I remember waiting to go out for the gold medal fight and my coach asking me, are you, are you injured anywhere? How is your body feeling? Because we've fought all day, right? And usually by finals, someone kicked your elbow or you kicked an elbow or your knee's a little sore or, you're banged up. And he asked her, how are you feeling? And I had to kind of take an inventory, what the heck? I'm not hurt anywhere. I'm great. And so it was just that kind of day. Everything was falling into place. And then even the glitches turned out to be great moments. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but after I won and we were doing the awards ceremony, you can pick whichever side of the story you would like. Some people say that the music had a technical glitch. Some people say that they thought Korea was going to win, so they didn't have our anthem ready. But I've got my medal around my neck. The flags are supposed to be up, and they're going up and no music. And so even a glitch on this day just turned out to be an amazing thing because there were so many U.S. military members in the crowd because of Yongsan. They just started singing with me the national anthem. And we sang our national anthem because there was no music. So I actually got to hear my national anthem twice, our anthem twice. We sang it all, flags up. And then when the flags were completely up, then the music over the PA started. So it was just an amazing, again, like I said, even a glitch turned out to be just a fantastic moment and memorable enough that NBC gave it more coverage than Taekwondo would have ever received on that day. So it was just another way to highlight, our sport.
Wow. Yes. I actually I had a question about that and I was like, are you reading my notes, Arlene? I saw that when I was researching you and preparing for this amazing episode. And as you're describing it, I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, again, you broke history as the first woman and you're in Korea, just every bit of that day, your whole life leading up to that point. And then even in that moment where the music would normally just start playing. And then, you know what? It did in such a beautiful, eloquent way. And yeah, that's going to get media attention. And we wanted to have media attention, regardless of the reason.
Yeah.
Here you are. And God, I can only imagine the thoughts and the feelings and like your brain taking snapshots of absolutely everything. And here we are, however many years later, talking about it on a podcast, right?
It was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing to just all those little pieces of the puzzle just come together in that moment. And so many people, just a couple weeks ago, my nephew is dating someone and they were going through some boxes. I think her parent may have passed away, and they found all these pictures of me from the Seoul Olympic Games. He was there. Her dad was there, and he sang with me, and he had shared that story with so I'm just like, wow, this is just crazy. Yeah. Every American in that arena, and there were a lot of us in there, got to sing our anthem.
Wow. I can't only imagine your face when you learned that. Did you say it was your nephew?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your nephew's, like, wait, her dad was there?
Yeah. He sent me, I started getting like ping, ping, ping. I look and there's all these pictures of me, like pictures from the Olympics that someone had taken, like someone in the crowd had taken. You could tell that's how they were. He's like, yeah, my girlfriend's dad evidently was there and saw you win the Olympics.
That's incredible. I mean, it's those things you can't make it up, right? Like that is incredible. Wow. What a gift. Well, I could ask you probably 20 more questions about the whole experience, but I definitely want to make sure that we have time to talk about PAVE, which is how I believe you and I really were introduced with my background in workplace violence and insider threat with NCIS and what you were doing now. So I'd love to really start off with, tell us how PAVE Prevention was born.
So, I'll back up in a part that I wasn't included with, and I want to give due respect and honor to the founders of what we call now empowerment self-defense. So empowerment self-defense came out of a feminist martial arts movement where women were in martial arts classes. They loved them. They were being taught by men, and they realized there was just something missing in that teaching of self-defense from a man's lens. And so women in this movement started coming together, training together. The National Women's Martial Arts Federation was started, where women would come once a year to this training conference and, share ideas. And this idea that women needed a different approach. So we needed not necessarily how to palm heal someone in the face, which we needed to know how to do that, but maybe we needed to know how to set a boundary. Maybe we needed to understand situational awareness in a different way. Maybe we needed to learn how to use our voice, right? And so in a very empowering way, this group of women combine those skills, which most people would call soft skills. You and I would probably argue that they're not soft at all. Learning how to set a boundary and use your voice. But they combine those skills with the physical skills if you had to use them. And that's where empowerment self-defense movement came out of. So the empowerment self-defense has been doing fantastic work for 50 years now, changing people's lives, empowering women, especially survivors of violence, interpersonal and domestic violence, especially. And so a group about 8 years ago now, maybe 9 years ago now, were brought together for a week, 20 women. We were kind of sequestered in this campground in upstate New York. And we were posed with the question, if money was not an option and we could take empowerment self-defense to more people, how would we do that? And from that week-long incubator, ideas like a worldwide train-the-trainer program, Empowerment Self-Defense Global was started. There was a marketing and PR firm that was started to tell our stories. And PAVE was started we all know we do most of our adult learning at work. Okay. And so initially we had this concept of we're going to reduce violence in the workplace, but that's kind of going to be our Trojan horse because our goal is just to take these skills to as many people as possible. And if we take these skills to people at work, that workplace will become safer. And so we've kind of been able to flip it now. And really the premier goal is to reduce violence in the workplace. But we're also imparting these skills to every employee of that organization. So they're using that on the bus. They're using it in the grocery store. Maybe it's giving them the power to leave a unhealthy relationship. All of those things are happening while that organization is now a safer organization to move within.
I love it. The origination story of all of that. I remember when we first met, you were explaining that, and I was like, wow, such brilliant minds all coming together for a period of time with no distraction. Money is not an issue. Remove all the obstacles. What would we do? And then that powerful creation, that spark. Yeah. The beauty of when you bring the diversity of people and the minds and you bring them together. I mean, that's why I love masterminds and retreats and whatnot. And this is so amazing. So, okay. So you kind of touched on it a little bit. And I am a huge advocate of holistic everything, holistic leadership, holistic lifestyle. Our mind and bodies are connected. We are one person at work. We're the same person at home. Like there's so much goodness. So I'm very curious about your approach to safety because you talk about emotional and physical and mental safety. Whereas normally when we hear about, workplace violence, we think physical, but there's so much more to it. So I'd love if you could elaborate a little bit more on that approach to safety.
Sure. A couple things I'll share to that point. So first, the way we discuss violence, PAVE discusses violence, is that I believe, and PAVE believes strongly, that we are all impacted every day by violence. Right? Now, whether that be something that's perpetrated on us, or maybe we're dealing with a parent who may have been abused when they were a child, and now we just don't get the connection that we need because of that those violent incidents that happen with them. It may be someone who just had someone come and break into their house and steal their prized possessions. And now I'm the first person that interacts with them in a grocery store. And they're just not as nice, or maybe they're aggressive, right? All these little things, we call it the dominoes keep falling. When there's a violent incident, those dominoes just keep, unless we disrupt them, right? Unless we intervene. So that's the first thing. And I'll back up a little bit on that, is that even OSHA, when you talk about workplaces, even OSHA is now starting to acknowledge things like bullying, gaslighting, those type of things in the workplace as being on the spectrum of violence. So it's not just an active shooter situation. It's not just someone coming in with criminal intent. It's not that anymore. It's all those other things. Okay. So that's how PAVE sees violence in the workplace. So when you talk about a holistic approach, we believe strongly that the type of curriculum and training that we're bringing to these workplaces, one, allows people to stop something, prevent it from happening in the beginning, like setting the foundation so violence isn't occurring, right? In real time, addressing it if it does start, being able to intervene, being able to stop it, protect themselves and stop it. And then the last one is being able to heal from violence that we don't even know is impacting our team. We don't even know about it. It could be something that's at home, something that is from the past, something that's in our neighborhood, right? I mean, I'm in Chicago. It is not uncommon these days to just have neighbors disappear. So that type of violence, it impacts how I move through my day, right? So all this full spectrum of violence and this holistic approach, as you shared, allows us in those three different levels to come back to balance. Because that's the only way, the way we can describe it, is because when these things throw us off balance, it's really just trying to come back to balance. And then the last thing I'll share about this is, I wish I would have saved this article. I read it many, many years ago. And this article said that there are 15 different incidents that lead up to a physical blown violent event. So we have at least 15 things. So imagine if we stop it at the second little incident or warning, if we stop it at the 9th, if we stop it at the 14th, wherever along that, could we stop it? So if we give people those tools to be a good upstander, right? Or we give people the tools to intervene directly, all of those things, if we can do that, then, maybe we've got a chance to slowing this momentum of violence down.
Yeah. Amen. What you are doing is so impactful, so meaningful, and definitely very, very personal to me. And it's so important. And I very much align with you on the holistic approach and the focus on the prevention. And I wouldn't be able to quote a stat now. Maybe back in the day I could, when I was giving these briefs at the Pentagon for the insider threat. But it was back in 2015, 2016 timeframe that I was running our insider threat division at NCIS in Quantico. And the Navy Yard shooting, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes when there's a catastrophic event, it gets our attention. And then, okay, well, we got to do something about this, right? And so that's when really the federal government, NCIS, of course, included, the Department of the Navy, started to focus on prevention. And okay, let's be left of boom. We got to really focus on this. And that was really a paradigm shift, right? Because a lot of times we're reactionary. Okay, the crime happened. Let's deploy an NCIS agent to investigate and let's figure it out. Well, now we're kind of shifting towards, okay, well, what can we do to prevent? And like you just stated, Arlene, that there's a lot of things that are present and they can manifest differently in different people. But I mean, there's a million different things. But like if you have someone's baseline and they're doing something very different than that, that does not make them an insider threat or a future criminal. But it's something that you could pay attention to. So if I've never shot a gun in my entire life, ever, and then suddenly I'm showing a very big interest in it, again, doesn't mean that I'm going to be an insider threat. Doesn't mean I'm going to, perform some heinous act. But it's something, right? And it's not just one thing. There's so many different things. So really empowering people to see something, say something, report early, report often, And, let's help each other build all of these holistic skills so that we do feel empowered. We feel safe within ourselves, and then we're safe in the workplace and in our communities,
Yeah.
and that we can get ahead of it because we can, like you said. And
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
powerful.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, one of the main pillars of the PAVE training is this idea of checking in with yourself. So creating, we call it a spectrum of awareness, and understanding are you activates you, right? What's going on with you? It's such a no-brainer for me as an athlete because every morning you wake up as an athlete, and to this day, you do this like full body scan when you wake up. Like, where am I at? I threw 10,000 kicks yesterday. Oh, my hamstrings are telling me I threw 10,000 kicks yesterday, right? I mean, it's just a part of your process as an athlete, but not everybody does that, which has been an aha moment for me, right? It was like, what? You don't check in with yourself? You don't know, like, if your shoulders are tight? You don't realize that, your jaws are clenched? You don't feel that? So one, this creating this personal acknowledgement and awareness of where are you at? If you're on green, like we're probably both on green right now, right? Having a nice, easy conversation. But if you say something that activates me through this conversation and I feel myself, then I should know that, okay, I'm moving to yellow. Why am I moving to yellow? And so this internal check-in first, but then that next step of that spectrum of awareness is with your team. And it doesn't have to be me completely getting into your business, Rebecca, knowing everything that you do every day, your personal life. It's just a check-in. And if you say, hey, I'm on yellow today, I had an hour and a half commute instead of a 30-minute commute, I know where you're at right now. Right? So it's this team, it's an individual check-in, it's a team check-in. And then, in a trauma informed way, that's it. And that is night and day for organizations to support each other. Much like you're saying, it'll give us that opportunity to figure out if someone is out of their routine or doing things differently, or and that check-in, however you want to put it, we do it with a nice visual of a stoplight. But whatever organizations do, when I was one of the national coaches, I did it on a 1 to 10 scale. Check in with my athletes. How are you feeling? I'm a 7 coach. Great. I'm a 3. Whoop. I got to find my way over there and say, why are you a 3? What's going on? In private, right? Just the athlete and I. Well, I stayed up writing 3 term papers, coach. I'm zapped. Okay, great. Now I know exactly what I'm going to get, right? They're at a 3 today. I'll probably get a 5 because I let them be a 3 today, right? So it's this internal check-in for yourself and then team check-in. Much like you are stating of like, hey, I notice you've been going to the gun range a lot lately. So that's all it is. That's all it is being aware of yourself and then your team as that next step. And then we would also ask for people to evaluate violent incidents by that spectrum as well. Is this a green situation? Is this a yellow situation? Is this a red situation? If it's red, I'm probably not the best person to intervene. If it's yellow and I feel I can handle my own adrenaline, then I'm the right person to intervene.
Wow. Yeah. You just dropped so many gems there. And, very, very, very generally speaking, if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others.
Yes.
And that's something that I preach and I shout from the rooftops, because that is one of our core pillars here in Tactical Harmony. And it's leading yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit, your habit, your mornings, that checking in with yourself. And when you realize that not everyone has that level of awareness, then being able to share it with others and train others, such as what you were doing in PAVE and through those awesome vehicles, then you're spreading that awareness, because that's the first step. Is the awareness, the self-awareness, awareness that these things do exist. And then you can move to vigilance, and then you can move to your community, your team, those on the outside of you.
Yes.
And so I absolutely align with that. That is so awesome. So I'm sure that you've been asked this before, but how has your past and your training as a fighter and all of the years that you've done that, how has that set you up, and how does that manifest or apply to PAVE prevention?
I mean, well, for a very, very long time, all I knew was teaching martial arts and coaching martial arts. I mean, I had been doing it since I was a teenager, really. I started teaching students out of my garage. So that's all I knew up until, I mean, yes, I would help with other organizations and help in leadership for things. Absolutely. But really, I was a martial arts instructor. So when I was asked to take the helm of PAVE and be co-founder of this organization, it really was like, okay, I haven't done anything this new in a very, very long time. And all those old feelings, right, that come up even as a young athlete, like, can I do it? Can I? Am I the right person? All those feelings. Well, yeah, I can do it. If I prepare properly, if I learn everything I'm going to need to do, right? All those things, that excitement to lead an organization again in a new way, all filled all those competitive juices for me. So it hit me right at the right time to take leadership in this new organization. How does my martial arts and my sport background serve me with PAVE? All the time. I'm quite amazed. As an athlete, you're always evaluating and looking for things. And okay, that didn't work. If I twist in martial arts, it's okay. If I move 2 degrees this way with my knee, will that give me a better line to score? I mean, you're just so critical on things and looking at it with a positive critical eye, I would say, right? And I am surprised with the organizations we work with and within PAVE and my team. Now, sometimes it's just like, it just stops right there. Like, okay, they said we can't do it on Tuesday. Okay. Can we do it earlier on Tuesday? Can we do it later on Tuesday? Can we do it next Tuesday? Right? There's like, as an athlete, there's no hurdle for me. What the heck? There's no hurdle. We're going to get over it. We're going to get under it. We're going to get around it. So that type of like athlete perspective, and critical thinking really serves me well. Sometimes, well, I'll say most of the time it serves me well. Sometimes I can be overzealous, right? Because I'm like, there's always a way. There's always a way. But for the most part, it serves me well. And I think that's why I'm in the position. That's why I was brought into the conversation to be one of the founders and one of the leaders, because of that approach. Because it served me well, that there's never, ever really been something in front of me that I couldn't find a way through or over or around or a plan for it. So that has served me well. In addition to of course, all the wonderful things that martial arts teach people, respect and managing, your own way through the world in a peaceful way. So that continues to serve me.
Oh gosh, I see you. I see you because different but the same. I think in law enforcement, and there's no obstacle that I can't conquer. Mm-hmm. There's no hill that's too high, a mountain too high. I've got this.
Yeah.
And since entering the corporate world, not everyone shares that same level of passion, I will call it. And so sometimes I can be viewed as very direct and like super passionate, like you said, overzealous. And, it all comes from, okay, guys, we've got this, like that can-do attitude. We'll figure it out. And I get real excited. And the word no, I don't accept that. So I'm smiling because I'm like, okay, like different backgrounds, but I definitely share that. I'm going to call it a skill set because it really is. And you didn't say this, but I definitely know this to be true because you indicated it, is being an effective communicator. I mean, even as a coach, when you were checking in with your athletes, okay, where are we at on that 10-point scale or the red, yellow, green? That is effective communication. And being around so many years and in different industries and sectors, not every leader possesses that same level of self-awareness and level of communication. And, I think so often as leaders and professionals, sometimes we can overcomplicate things. And basic communication and effective communication is truly a game changer.
Yeah.
Start there. You're simply checking in
Mm.
with your athletes. And I'm not throwing shade or judgment on, other leaders, but sometimes if you don't have that training or awareness that really, start with yourself. And then, making sure that you're checking in. It's not just about, let's just dive into the job or the mission. And,
Yeah.
sometimes, when there's chaos, that's appropriate, but you got to have that trust and respect, and that's earned, right? I trust you. You trust me. We're communicating back and forth. I genuinely care about you. You care about me. And then you establish that really strong, sturdy foundation, and that's going to lead to success.
Yeah.
I'm motivated. I got you, coach. Like I'm going to show up.
Yep.
I know I'm a 3, but I'm going to give you a 4 or 5. Like I've got this.
Mm.
It really does make the difference.
Yeah. People have to know you care about them, your teams, your athletic teams, your work teams. I mean, that you can't wing that. I mean, you have to know. I mean, maybe you can get certain places financially, but really, when it's all said and done, your team has to know that you care about them.
100%.
Yeah.
So, Arlene, what do you do for you these days? I don't know. Is it still fighting, or do you have what habit or practice do you do that fills your cup?
I can still consider myself a martial artist, so I find ways to work that into my movement and to my exercise. I feel it's really important that we stay physically strong. So weight training is always part of what I'm doing. Just as we age, we need to stay strong. And then I play a lot of pickleball these days, and I love it. So I'm playing a lot of pickleball and really, really enjoying that. The sense of community that it offers, and really what I'm enjoying about it as well, which is what I got from martial arts, is this intergenerational interaction and communication. So I could play one game with a 17-year-old kid who's, on spring break, or the next game I could be with someone who's 72. You know what I mean? It's just very rewarding in that way for me.
Oh, that's incredible. You definitely like perked up. You had a big smile on your face when you're saying it. And I think the universe is telling me I need to learn or play pickleball, because you are not the first person in the last few months that has brought this up.
Yeah.
So I think I need to figure this out. I need to go.
It's kind of become the new golf course, to tell you the truth. There's so much I didn't plan it this way, but there's so much networking that's happening now on pickleball courts and at pickleball tournaments and things like that. But yeah, it's got a great feel. It's a great community.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to report back to you and let you know how I like it. I'm sure I will, because I love anything new, and it's an adventure for me. But
it's so fun. But be prepared to be addicted.
Okay. All right. I love that. You're really selling it. Okay, Arlene, last question for you. I ask every guest the same question. What advice, theme, takeaway would you like to leave our audience with here today as it pertains to either leadership, mindset, or performance?
Well, there'll be a couple things I'd like to share. I think for leadership, we have to make sure that we're making an effort to put people in the right places. And so, do your work as a leader and understand how people work in their best way, right? So, invest in communication assessments, invest in those things. So, you're not offended, right? And maybe they don't want to have a conversation like this. They are maybe more introverted. They just want to communicate via email, and via email, you get tons of great ideas from them, right? But put that extra effort in to really figure out where each of your team members can shine. It's kind of like figuring out the perfect warm up for each of your athletes. It's not just the same warm up for everybody. Some people need to warm up their hips a little more. Some people have had issues with their calves. So, right, you have to find out for your team where they're going to shine the most and what they need to shine. I'll add that, right? And that has been really eye-opening for me with PAVE. It's something I did organically as a coach in sport, but in a corporate setting or in a professional setting such as this, it wasn't, why can't we just communicate about it? Why can't we just talk about it, right? Just tell me what you need. But not everybody handles and communicates like I do. So really having those aha moments that you can put me on the spot at any time and ask me 10 things and can you do this? Can you do that? Boom, I got you. But there are people on my team that I got a night before, hey, I might, ask you to present on these 3 things. They might need that 3 days in advance. And then they're nailing it. Where if I just would have put them on the spot, hey, Rebecca, can you tell me where we're at with this client? But if I would have said 3 days before, hey, on Friday, I'm going to want an update on that and see if you can fill us in. You knock it out of the park like a rock star. So that would be one is, put in the extra effort, put in the little extra money to find out take the assessments, do all that, but to find out where your team's going to shine, each individual. And then something that was so instrumental in my life personally is that random people just came to me and identified strengths or gave me a compliment or pulled me aside and said, this is awesome. Keep doing it. At a very young age. So I think when there's an opportunity for leaders, no matter who it is, whether it's in your sector or it's not in your sector, for you to acknowledge someone early on in their career or even young kids, when they're doing something good, pull them aside and tell them. When they've done something great, pull them aside and tell them, lift them up. Because that is so huge to have people believe in us when we're young, when we don't even believe in us. We don't know anything about where we're going or what we're doing. And for someone to take time and say to an 8-year-old, hey, here's the book I wrote. And you did amazing today at this tournament. Here's the book I wrote. I signed it to you. The number one future female fighter in the world. And give it to me. Person didn't even know me. Grandmaster Roy Kerman is his name. Didn't even know me, but I caught his eye sparring in a little local tournament. And he said, hey, you got something special, right? But it was many people like that who took a little extra time, found me and said, hey, you got something special. So when we see that, let's make that moment for those young people or that new person in our organization.
Wow. Yeah. Hit the replay button, y'all. And make sure you're taking notes and we got to make sure that we clip this. That was extraordinary. And I could not agree more. And Arlene, thank you so much for your time and taking time out of your busy day. I know you wear a lot of hats. You've got a lot going on. And for you to take some time and have this meaningful conversation with me, I'm so grateful. And for our audience that wants to get a hold of you or learn about PAVE and learn more about your services, where can we send them to find you?
You can reach out by email, Arlene at Pave Prevention, and that's PAVE prevention.com. On LinkedIn, Arlene Limas. You can connect with me there. But yeah, I'm on most social media and most professional media, and you can reach out to me anyway. I'd love to talk with people.
Wonderful. Well, I will make sure that all those links are in the show notes below as per usual. And with that, a heartfelt thank you for everything that you were doing in this world. It is so needed. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much, Rebecca. This has been a blast.